Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another show of The Cool Down. And today we've got Wonga Dinga, the Dingosaurus, aka the Dinga Nature. We've got Mosa Sistele, the big fish on top of the mountain. We've got, and he's only on top of the mountain because Chelsea are doing so well, because we know he's been wallowing in the lakeside. We've got Matinho Mason, aka, he's not sure what his name was because halfway through the season is Portuguese, now he's English, back to where his original roots are.
Exactly.
And then Nicholas, head coach, should I say, Stothard, whose team are currently on top of the league. Am I right there, Nick?
Correct. But,
not Newcastle. Let's get that straight. Let's not confuse anyone watching. It's not Newcastle.
I don't think anybody would make that mistake.
Relax. When we got relegated, we were at the top of the log the next season. So,
which log is that again?
No, when we got relegated, take it easy, bro. Take it easy.
Nick, you love talking about the Champions League, and I saw the other day, or actually yesterday evening, I saw a highlight of Ronaldo skinning 3 Newcastle boys when they were in the Champions League. I've nearly sent it to you, and I was just like, let me not kill that dream, because you still talk about it on the show today. So I was like, let me not do that.
Oh, bro, at least you can see, at least you know that I've been there.
Yeah.
A lot of people won't remember, but you saw some evidence there, so I'm happy.
Jeez, I'll tell you guys something. Back in the day, when I say back in the day, I mean 2004, I used to play general manager. And obviously Newcastle were a Champions League side. They're being managed by Sir Bobby Robson. And I used to play with Newcastle just because they had Kieran Dyer. They had some decent players there. I forgot who was the centre-back. I think Bramble was the centre-back. They had 1 or 2 of the guys. And somehow
Bramble,
after that, they fell off the face of the earth.
Tabizas from Greece. He was pretty good. O'Brien, Andy O'Brien.
Yes.
Aaron Hughes. Jermaine Genus, Craig Bellamy, Alan
There we
Shearer.
go. Bellamy in that game was hot, boy. That guy was scoring goals left, right, and center. Anyway, now we talk about the past.
Clarence Acuna and Hugo Viana. Do you remember him?
Yes,
he was
Portuguese boy.
He was voted the biggest prospect in Europe when we bought him. Well, the season before, I think we had bought him from Sporting Lisbon. And then, it never worked out for him.
And then he spent a couple of years at Newcastle, and now he just like
toast.
sells fishing rods on a beach somewhere. Like, I used to play football, guys,
Portuguese toast. That's what he was. I actually think he was the Wonder Kid sort of version of when they was testing out the Wonder Kids. You know, when you could sign kids, or sign players, and it was like hashtag Wonder Kid. Obviously, before the hashtags happened. Anyway, guys, before we keep going, I just want to say we've got an important announcement. And that is on Thursday afternoon at 3 p.m. We have an incredible guest, CEO of Tonsa, an app that is democratizing. And I say this because it's a huge statement, because this is what they claim to be doing, democratizing football. And there's going to be a long sort of explanation. He's going to explain what it is that they're doing, why it is that they're doing it, and pretty much players that have been on their books, the likes of Haaland, the likes of Fofana, and other sort of players that have come through the app themselves. And that's going to be exciting. So don't forget to check that out. And also, as we continue, don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, and tell a friend, because if you don't tell a friend, let's be honest, we can't be friends. Anyways, we're going to kick it off.
I'm super excited about that conversation, given all the developments that have happened with football, with like ESL coming into play and everything that's happening in the boardrooms. It's going to be lovely to have a chat about the democratization of football and players. So, yeah, man, that's going to be dope on Thursday.
Yeah. Anyone else want to weigh in on that before we actually talk about the show that we normally do?
There is a change of time. I don't know if you mentioned that, eh?
Yes, 3 p.m. Guys, do not forget, it's not going to be 7:30. It's going to be 3 p.m. and that's what we're going to be doing. Right, gentlemen. Marcus, thank you for joining us. He's already got something to say. He's like, Cello is away today, thank goodness.
I think he's watching the United reserves have a run out against Leicester.
Did you see that lineup?
I'm not sure, guys. I mean, what is that about? That's not all right. I was telling Matt before the show, this is why I don't like Ole. He's given me a reason to really dislike United again. Thank you very much, you prick, Ole. Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if this was done to screw over Liverpool, to be honest. It feels like that kind of move. They'll go out, they'll give Leicester some points. They know they're safe. Then Liverpool are fucked. I think that feels like a very United kind of thing.
Also, guys, I just want to say, all of a sudden,
fair enough.
everybody's online. When we actually made the announcement, no one is online. And Marcus, you were awake. You could see the names were rearranged. So thank you for spotting that out. Again, as one more announcement, on Thursday, we're going to be live at 3 p.m. We've got the CEO of Tonsa coming onto our show. We're going to be discussing the democratization of football and how an app is helping change or making football more transparent for players and their big dreams. So, yes, don't forget to tune in on that. Okay. All right. Seeing as we've got everyone there, I see our June is back. Ladies and gentlemen, look at this. Thank you very much.
Thanks for saving me, Arjun. I wouldn't
they-
want to have that Arsenal badge hanging on me.
But it's because they very close to each other in the log, so we kind of just leave everything like below 7 just to figure
Look at
themselves
this
out.
man, hey. Look at this man. It's going to be insufferable.
Yeah, I mean, he's just celebrating the fact that they've made the final. All right. Okay, we're going to talk about the results. And the first result is the one that Nick should be loud about. We're talking about the chokers. Leicester are currently playing United, but we're going to talk about the weekend's result. Leicester 2, Newcastle 4. Nick, take it away. The floor is yours.
Away the lads. Away the fucking lads. I can't believe it. I honestly, I actually had a pretty average evening leading up to the game because my team dropped points. We dropped in the chase of winning the title. We drew 1-1 against a team that's near the bottom of the log. So I was in a foul mood starting off. And then I thought, obviously, going to Leicester, we're going to get about 4 or 5 in the back of our net. Well, let me tell you what. We did the opposite, boys. We got Callum Wilson. We got Callum Wilson and Joe Willock on the field. And to be fair, and I'm not even, I don't know how many of you watched it, but listen, Dubravka was phenomenal on the night. Goalkeeper, I mean, made the difference in the end because he made some big saves. But to be fair, I mean, we had 2 or 3 chances more than the 4 goals that we scored that we could have even buried. One of which, St. Maximin had a good save off, or Schmeichel made a good save off St. Maximin. But we were just so dynamic in our play. He literally said to the players, it sounds like, boys, just go out and try your best. And, in terms of his game plan, I must give him credit. He did mention that he wants to play on the counter. And for my, my opinion on Steve Bruce, it might have worked out for him this time. I don't know if it was a fluke. I don't know if it was obviously the quality of players that we had, but it worked perfectly because they sucked them in the Leicester lineup into so high up the pitch that whenever we got the ball with a Shelby or a St. Maximum, we had so much pace going in behind, and they always look susceptible. I think they had Johnny Evans getting injured in the warm-up, which couldn't have helped them. The 2 at the back, Fofana and Soyuncu, looked very, very dodgy. Soyuncu was one of the culprit for Joe Willock's goal. He was doing a Cruyff on the edge of his box, not even looking to his left-hand side. I couldn't believe it. Joe Willock sees it there, the trigger's there, and he goes. So we were lethal in that sense. We took our chances. We had quite a bit of the ball in the first half. Second half, not so much. 2-0 up, you'd think, that's Steve Bruce. Are we going to probably lose this 3-2? And then when we get the third and the fourth, it gives me a little bit of relief. But I'll tell you what, when they scored those 2 late goals, the
tension was back on.
The tension was back on. But boys, what I can tell you is I'll be reporting for pre-season in June, July, and I'm ready for our first friendly match in the States. So
Nice,
Nice, Nick.
Big dream. You can dream big again, sir. You're part of the gang.
Oh man, but maybe just to comment on a Leicester side that very surprising in terms of all the ability that they have, but their backline
Nick,
just
before you keep talking about Leicester, I just want to give a little shout out to Arjun. Oh, no. Sorry. My bad. Give me this. No, we're not Arjun. Arjun's always Arjun. Oh man.
Aryan.
The Aryan. There we go. Shout out Aryan. Thank you very much for joining us and flipping Arjun. the top scout of Goal Lounge TV. Thank you very much. We appreciate it, man. Keep going, Nick. Keep going. You're saying.
And shout out Ariane. We've all been there of using our university patches to actually do some work and watch some YouTube on the side. So shout out to that, man. It happens to the best of us.
Yeah.
I'm guessing it's economics.
That's quality. Yeah, but I think from my side, I don't know. Like, I think this Leicester team is definitely cracking. You know, it looks like they're not going to get 3 points tonight, even against a weaker Man United team. And for me, if I'm Rodgers and you're playing against a team that's literally been battling the whole season, to concede 4 goals at home is inexcusable. Even though we had the likes of St. Maximum, Almiron, Willock, and Callum Wilson, it's not good enough because, you know, they didn't really put any pressure on us other than a couple of saves that Dubravka had to make, but they just looked so susceptible every time they lost the ball. Their transitions defensively were horrendous. So I think this has to fall on Rodgers' lap if they fall out of the Champions League spot, in my opinion.
Yeah, it will definitely fall squarely on his lap.
Yeah, there's a bit. I mean, he's had question marks before about his ability to see things over the line. Obviously, with Liverpool, he got like so close, and then it all just like right at the end fell apart. And I think again we're seeing it with Leicester. And I you know, it's in a way it's unfair because you know we always look to the manager, but the players also they're the ones on the field. They're the ones who've been able to do it for 33 games. They're performing, and then all of a sudden they can't do stuff they were doing. And some of that sits with the manager, but a lot of that's with you as a professional. If you know how to do the job, just do it. And I think that's for Leicester fans, it must be hugely frustrating. I mean, I'm in a similar boat with smaller stakes, but you know, Spurs had what looked like, if you know, we go back to some of the shows from a few months ago, Spurs were in a situation where we looked like this season could have been something special, and it's all fallen apart. And Leicester fans are probably going to be really upset if they end up somehow missing out on top 4, even though Man United are clearly rolling out the red carpet to make it easy for them tonight, but they're still not managing to pull it off.
To rule Liverpool out, boys.
Just to keep Liverpool out.
But tell me, I saw Pums had made a comment earlier about Bruce out, ? Again, and 100% yes. He actually came out yesterday on Talk Sport Radio. Let me just rewind a little bit. He's declined to speak to any local radio stations in the last couple of weeks. But he goes he goes and speaks on a national platform, and he literally berates the Newcastle fans for putting too much pressure and having unrealistic expectations. And in terms of Warren Barton, who used to play for us back in the 2000s, some of you might know him. He spoke on Sky Sports today, and he said, you know, no matter what you feel against fans, you can't go toe-to-toe with them on a national platform. You know, whether or not you agree their expectations are too big or not. You know, I think his sail is shipped. You know, he knows that he's not welcome, and he's just been there in a position that, you know, he's not worthy of the job. And I would like to see the back of him, even if we don't get a takeover and we get a young and exciting manager who wants to try something new. But yeah, I'm glad we're safe. We've got another year in the Premier League. I still got my job, and hopefully I'm happier next season.
He's talking about his goal on job in case anyone missed that. Yes, Musa.
Yeah.
No, I'm just thinking about Jason's question about Rodgers not overachieving. I think it's a very, very good question and a very, very valuable question to ask ourselves. But potentially, did he overachieve by getting Leicester in this position at this point of the season where they could compete for a Champions League position? Or is there something that he could be doing different at this point to cement the fact that he is a good manager? I don't know how they did shape up against Newcastle, but for me, if you at this point of the season to concede 4 goals and in the running for the top 4 spot is it's a very critical, I criticize the approach that the manager followed in terms of, was he going for an open type of game approach where he was going guns blazing for the 3 points, or was they measured and then there were a couple of mistakes which were all the players' faults, you know? And that's where I think potentially that shift in focus could then push towards the manager as opposed to the players individually. He has lost a few players over the season, and he's gotten the great performances from some of those players. But I think something has to then change in terms of how they come to a game. Already now, or from my understanding, when I last checked, it was 1-1 against this Man United B team, and that's something, from is it the development team?
Development player.
And
Who's that player? I've never heard of in my life. So know what to say. No, it's development player. What's his name?
Elanga.
Elanga.
Yeah, boy.
Elanga.
I mean, come now, guys.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
But
is he making his debut tonight?
Yeah, they got 2 debutants tonight. They got 2 teenagers making their debut.
What a Ole
for United. That's the first time since
I know we're not speaking.
Made his debut.
I know we're not speaking about it yet, but why? Do you guys have any idea why they're forced to have this fixture on Thursday? Why didn't they just move it to next week? There's no football next week, midweek. Was that sort of punishment for Man United? Because that, it just doesn't make sense. Like, why didn't they just
Nick,
next week's
I was just thinking. I was just thinking that I don't know, but like Man United now, they had this protest. Then it jumps a fixture. Then if you make it comfortable, I'm just thinking if you make it comfortable, then other teams, you never know, might just say, "Oh,
so is that you saying we don't negotiate with terrorists?"
Yes,
give them what they want. Otherwise, they'll all be doing it.
I'm just thinking maybe. I don't know.
And they most likely they probably fill up all the opportunities they can get before the calendar gets too full, in case there are any more postponements or events that do crop up in the next week or two, just so that they can get everything into their calendar in time.
Yeah, fair enough.
But I'm just thinking now about Rodgers. Now you guys were saying that like in terms of, it's also the players as well that you have to rely on. Considering that, saying that Rodgers is the one, or we're arguing whether he's the one to blame for the slip up. But if you, like Arjun pointed out that when Gerrard slipped, if you think about it, watching that game, I can remember the game. If Gerrard doesn't slip that game, they pretty much comfortable in it, But I can. The game they lost to, was it Norwich or who was it when they were 3-0 up? I think that one that's another one. But like a thing like a player slipping and things like that, you can't really blame it on a manager. And it was really, that game that goes on to it. So I do think the players have a part to play in it as well.
But I think also the question around Rodgers overachieving, that's only true if he ends up achieving it. If he drops out at the end, doesn't make top 4, then he hasn't overachieved. If he gets less than the top 4, then there's a valid question: are Leicester punching above their weight? I think if you look at the squad they've got, they're not. I think financially, maybe, but you look at the players they've got on their books, they've got a solid squad. They're a team that should be competing top 4. Maybe not getting top 4 every season, but they should be there or thereabouts. They're a solid bunch of players. They've got league winners on that squad. So, but that said, if they now drop away again, I don't think we can say Rodgers has overachieved if they finish 5th. I think if he if he held on to 4th and maybe, or even 3rd and made a go of it, then I'd say then it'd be a valid debate. Has Rodgers done more than you could have expected? But I do think it's I don't necessarily think that, because also you look at why they're there as well. They haven't also had this stellar, amazing season in a vacuum. Liverpool have had a terrible season. The Arsenal are nowhere whatsoever. Spurs have gone off the ball. Spurs imploded, went off the ball completely. Yeah. So there's mitigating factors for them to not get top 4 this season. I think would be a bit of an indictment on Rodgers rather than an overachievement.
Well, I think Musa put it bluntly and put it clearly: to ship 4 goals in against Newcastle, who are one of the lowest scorers in the league. All in one game in the business.
Not anymore. Not anymore. Not after that.
Things change.
That one game. That's all it took.
Things change when you're safe.
But curious though, Matt, because there's talk about still, Spurs looking at Rodgers. So you saying this? How would you feel if a man like that went to Spurs now?
I think there's better options in the league for Spurs at the moment. I think, in a way, I think he's got. I don't know. He's got a lot of baggage, and we've shown in the past we're not kind of conducive to managers that don't follow kind of our club philosophy. We need someone who's going to get the best out of the players we've got. Rodgers done pretty well at Leicester. Don't get me wrong. I think he played decent enough football, But I think there's better options. I mean, since I heard the rumors, I've been reading a lot up about Graham Potter, and I just think he might suit the club better. His commitment to youth and the way he plays, what he's done at Brighton in terms of tightening them up at the back, but still allowing them that freedom, that counter-attacking kind of football. They were really quite a long time relatively safe from relegation. There was always talk, they could get sucked in, but they never actually really got sucked in. And I think that's I think he's shown that there's a system in place at Brighton. I'd quite like to see him have a go at Spurs. That said, they'll probably spend loads of money on bringing Rodgers and it won't work out. But, I don't know. Just like I said, I've said it a few times. If we're going to get someone like Rodgers, I'd rather we stick with Mason for a season and just have fun with it. At least enjoy the football.
Well, we might as well talk about it. We're talking about Spurs.
Sorry, go ahead. Stick with Mason. Let him get punished. But to be fair, I can see the argument for sticking with him because we've seen players like Bale, like Dele Alli come into the fray with a bit more energy and a little bit more purpose in terms of how they could fit into the squad. And that's something that we forgot about, like the Mourinho era. He actually put a couple of players to bed, very talented players that were doing the work for Spurs. And he never gave them the opportunities that we expected him to give. And those players will be in the fray and looking for an opportunity. And that would be an exciting Spurs, all the players would feel like they have a shot at it.
I think the downside is like we saw against Leeds is that, and Leeds was a really good example
of. What's going on there? You're having some technical difficulties, bro. Man's having some turbulence in the plane.
You're holding a box of Smarties. It sounded like you dropped your Smarties everywhere, and then you were like, my Smarties.
Gotta go get them.
Good evening, Carlo. Thank you for joining us. As you were, Matt. As you were.
Yeah. So, the Leeds game was a really good example of kind of showing off the relative inexperience of Mason. There was, first of all, I think he was let down by a few individual performances. I think defensively we were a bit lax. I think Dyer and Alderweireld gave people too much space. Dyer in particular had a really bad game. And then towards the end of the game, when we were chasing it, he threw Dyer forward, and Dyer went and played basically as an additional midfielder. He was roaming. And when they scored the third goal, Dyer was still at the midfield, just running around looking for opportunities. And there's just sort of like, so I think that was an example of the potential naivety that we're going to show if Mason sticks around longer. That said, It's still great to see Spurs go out and attack a game. I mean, even though we lost, I was pleased to see us on the front foot. Like we had, And I think it was kind of, after so long of watching Spurs lose games without even trying, it was at least good to see Spurs lose when we'd given it a go. But it wasn't a good performance all round. I think defensively we were very naive. We gave them way too much space. I think that offside call for Kane's goal is ridiculous. I mean, it was.
That was scary.
I don't have the biggest TV in the world, but I went as close as I could to that thing, and I still could not see the difference in that line. I'm not sure what they like. Are they saying that it's the defender?
Whoa. Did you go close? Did you go close to this? You're a digital designer, and you went close to the screen to see how close you could. It's pixels, man.
I just want to.
He wanted to see, because I also couldn't see the difference between those two lines, man, and I can't believe that they were so confident to actually say there is a difference.
Yeah,
wow.
That's for me is a big issue. I think that
that's crazy.
There's still, I don't know, still for me, and that I think was a big moment, because I think that could have changed the game and kind of potentially had a big impact. But that said, we allowed them too much space. We were very susceptible to their counter attack, and I think it's in a way it's good. It's a good learning curve for Mason and for the squad in general to kind of, let's play more attacking, let's be on the front foot, but we can't leave the back door open like that. We've got to be tighter. We've got to be more controlled defensively, and I think. So we deserve the loss. I mean, I'm not going to stop that. I'm not going to kind of deny that at all. But I think at the same time, it's still good to see us playing attacking football, because we've got the squad for that. We had Bale and Ali on, Son and Kane. It's fantastic to see those guys going for it. On the weekend, they didn't have a great week, and I think. Sheesh, Marcus, is someone having a rough day?
You must tell Marcus to check himself. You must not have the same team,
guys. I think he's bashing out at us, but maybe he feels something about him. Come on, Marcus, love yourself.
Come on, man. Hey, man.
All I want to say is Marcus's comments. I just want to say Marcus's comments is why we can't say the show is appropriate for kids. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, thanks a lot. There goes our age-appropriate rating, Marcus.
Fuck, Man United Man United supporters are always messing things up.
Go invade the stadium and steal a corner flag, you savage.
And by the way, I have to
They just need to
correct
keep
that.
up with the results tonight.
Spurs is poo, unlike Chelsea, small boy FC. That's fine.
I mean, like,
I have to exclude myself from this line.
About Mason not being good enough for Spurs. You guys had Frank Lampard for like 9 months. I mean,
Also, have you seen Tuchel coming out saying thank you, Lampard, for doing all the groundwork? He said he sent me a nice message when I came in. He did all the groundwork. You know, he laid the foundation for me to get the finals. Thank you, Lampard. I mean, dude, I would be livid. I'd be livid if the Oki replaced me. He said that in the news. I'd be like, nah.
Yeah,
he was probably saying it behind his back. He probably had a black bag full of Hawaiian shirts and disco balls that he's taken out.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, we're gonna have to mention that reference because half the guys watching don't know what that reference is. I don't know, Matt. You keep mentioning it. Do you wanna mention the Hawaiian reference?
Clarified.
I'm not even sure how it started now. I just remember we were talking about Frank Lampard being a bit reckless, and then you
like
started it. You were saying he had too many outfits to choose from, and then I was saying, yeah, but you still, even when you got lots of outfits, you shouldn't be choosing Hawaiian shirts and swaggering out there onto the football pitch.
Yeah, something along those lines. Yeah, right. But just to wrap up this Leeds 3-1 result against Spurs. I mean, Leeds guys have done the business this season. So I don't know where you guys think they are as a club in terms of kicking on next season. What should their aspirations be realistically? We've seen that sort of bounce from Sheffield last season. They ended up getting relegated. So do you think they should just kind of steady the ship, or do you think they should go for broke and be like, nah, let's kick on, let's spend some money, let's see what we can do?
I think they've got to go for it. You know, their style of football is go for it football. I think they've got to back themselves. They've got to target European football next season, and
I think Bielsa will know who he needs to continue playing at this level, and they need to back him. I watched that documentary on the Leeds, the owner of Leeds, the Italian guy. I think it was from 2 seasons ago when they never got promoted. I think they missed out in the playoffs. But he seems like a very hands-on sort of owner, and he gives his managers what they want, and he gives his players what they want as well. So I think they're designing a new training ground, if I'm not mistaken. I think Darren will be able to give us more info on that. But they sort of doing the right things for a big club and bringing them back to where they should be. So I do think they need to spend, and I've been very vocal on this. I think that the set of players are only going to take them too far. I think the sort of similar to what I've mentioned with Liverpool, I think the stimulus might drop if they continue doing the same thing week in, week out with the same group of players. And I think they will need fresh blood in there to compete for places, and that will just keep the players on their toes.
Where do you think they'll need the fresh blood to come in? Which departments?
Be
thinking?
I think defensively they're going to have to sort. I mean, they've conceded. I think they've conceded even close to what Newcastle's conceded, even more. I think
they've scored as many as they've conceded. Well, now it's probably like 2 more.
Yeah, no, you're right. It's 53-53. Conceded 53, scored 53.
Yeah, so they've conceded.
I mean, they're balancing the books. They're balancing the books. Nothing wrong with
that. Did you know? I don't know. Do you reckon conceding 53 to get into a European spot? It's a tough shot.
Yeah, but they just need one because they've got a decent enough squad. If they brought in one kind of heavy defender, someone who like really knows how to organize that back line, be that shouty voice kind of, you know, and I think that could, if they could shave off 10-15 of those goals, that changes the complexion of their season already.
100%. I mean, they've got a good young keeper at the back. I think also just for the longevity of the season, you know, the amount of kilometers that his players run in a season together, training and in his matches, you know, the wear and tear is eventually going to catch up to them. So I would say in those high pressing areas, so your midfield, your front three, I would get 1 or 2 players in each department at least to try and just have that sort of depth So when they do get to say that, I mean, you know, if I'm Bielsa now and I'm stabilizing the Premier League, I'll go for an FA Cup or a League Cup. Why not? You know, you stabilize in the league the year again, the Premier League again for another year, and then you potentially go and win a cup. I mean, their fans would be over the moon. But I think they will need a bit more depth, just in my opinion.
I mean, that's a valid
Wonga,
opinion.
how do you feel about those comparisons?
That's nonsense. When I looked at RVP, look, I mean, when I was sour when the guy left, I can't lie. But when you hear his side of the story, then you always then you understand. But yes, man, geez, I don't think there's RVP comparing him to Greenwood. No ways.
Yeah, well, everybody starts somewhere, you know. Give the boy a chance.
Yeah. When he gets there, then I'll say. But no,
but you can't do it. You can't be like only compare them after the fact. Otherwise, no one would be rating anyone.
When he gets there. Well, we would be. I mean, but
and also let's be honest.
Remind me of RVP.
Greenwood though, in terms of if you're looking at that United squad right now, in terms of natural finishers, I've said this time and time again, and I'll say it again, stick my neck out. That boy is the best finisher. Obviously, Cavani's doing the things now, but natural finisher, Greenwood is it, man. He just needs consistent run.
What also is nice about Greenwood, he is young, but he's got such composure when it really counts. And sometimes, I mean, that's something that Rashford's really had to work on, is that composure when it's down to when it's taking that final shot. Rashford took a while to kind of get that VMT and be able to be calm in front of goal. And Greenwood seems to have that naturally. His finishing is right there because he just seems to know what he's going to do long before the ball arrives, and he slots it away every time. And in that way, he is similar to RVP and other kind of big goal scorers. You think of that kind of style, even like the shape of him, very similar to Henry. Not that I'm saying he's like Henry, Wonga, before you jump. But
everybody's trying to hurt Wanga's feelings today. Yeah?
I'm saying like the shape of him, the way he kind of approaches, because he's also like, because if you look at it, Henry on the field was never a big player, but he was able to create himself such space just by being clever with his movements and with the way. And Greenwood's similar to that in that he's not a huge guy, but he makes space for himself, and he always seems to have the room to put the shot to take the shot. And I think that's something that in a young player is very exciting. And I think he could go far. But United have ruined young players before. Look at Jesse Lingard having to go to West Ham to finally have a good season. So let's see what happens.
But you brought that fact up there, Claudio. You know, it's quite awkward about that fact is Adam Johnson's stuck in jail at the moment for...
if you're going to talk about Adam Johnson combining...
Is he still in jail? Hectic. I thought it was out last year.
Oh, maybe he was out, but yeah, he was convicted. And he's a Mackem, so I can't stand him.
The jokes at him is crazy.
Right, gents. Okay, so that's the Spurs Leeds game. Now for the curtain raiser before the actual Champions League final, guys. We've got the Man City Chelsea game. A lot happened here. Do we think Chelsea now have the psychological edge over Man City heading to the final?
Nah.
I think this is Pep.
I think it's interesting.
He's lulling you guys. He's lulling you guys into a false sense of security.
Tell us how you feel there, man.
Like, we've played them twice in very quick succession, and we've gotten results against them in very quick succession. But the Man City we saw this previous weekend, I am not expecting that Man City to be playing in the Champions League final. First of all, I don't expect like a Kun Aguero, Jesus to be there. I want to see a Gundogan, a De Bruyne. I think they have a lot more talent on their bench to actually to actually come on the day as a different team. And that's why I wouldn't rest on the laurels of yesterday's or Sunday's game or Saturday's game. But it does help that the Gents managed to pull a result.
Hold on. I'm just going to read this. It says, we don't need to hurt Wonga's feelings, man. He just needs to watch his team play, and that's enough to hurt him for a week.
The lads get no sleep. Arsenal fans get no sleep. Guys,
just pain.
But because remember when Arsenal turned around their form. Remember when Arsenal started playing well for those couple of weeks and Chelsea still had Lampard and Wonga was going, I'm coming for you, Mosso. We're going to take you. We're going to pass you in the league.
The dreams. How's that gone so far, Wonga? Oh man.
Wait, we're
Yeah,
not
but
moving
for- I
topics.
think-
We're not moving topics. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think
did you
for
guys see Harry
Chelsea on the
Maguire's
day.
injured?
Yeah, that's actually good. But they've got good replacements. Bailly and Townsend, I think, are good replacements. He is a very influential player for Man United, but yeah, man, I don't know. It doesn't inspire me and give me strong confidence in the back as a defender sometimes, which is it's fine.
But tell us about your team. That's what we want
Yes.
to hear.
So
Yeah, I want to hear about my team,
Talk
man.
about Chelsea, boy. What's going on here?
Hey, my man. So yeah, even Chelsea squad, there were a few changes on the day, which were refreshing. Guys like Marcus Alonso coming in and actually doing well. Guys actually trying out different combinations with ZH and them starting. It was very, very exciting to watch. The first half was a nightmare because of Man City had the dominance in their half, and that's something I think we should prepare ourselves a lot more in the Champions League final, where they'll have better ball holders and better spreaders of the ball on the day. But the second half showed something. It showed a lot more character from my side to see how these boys can pull it back from a 1-0 defeat and then go back and search for a winner. There were some decisions which I wasn't happy with. Firstly, the peanut that we got against us, and then the Kurt Zuma one, which everybody's talking about. I did think it was a penalty towards the end, but yeah, it's so tricky to call those nowadays, man, to see what type of contact is taking place. What did happen with the first goal with Jesus, I think is not fair for a centre forward who's lost control of the ball to feel as if just because they got contact from another player would warrant them to have a penalty because it's in the box. I didn't like that element of VAR doing its work, but it is what it is, and I guess we never suffered the worst outcome as Tottenham did with the VAR decision. So yeah, man, I believe we've got the confidence from the two games. It helps us to know we can beat Man City, no matter which type of solutions they do bring to the game on the day. I am wary though that we are dealing against a Pep who, if he's got two legs, can figure out a way to make it happen. And that's my only concern, that a Manchester City with a Pep in it is quite scary if you face him in such quick succession.
The man learns quickly.
Yeah, I agree. I think this was a huge, important game for Chelsea from a confidence perspective and in kind of reinforcing the Tuchel effect, because he's clearly turned around your guys' fortune against the bigger sides and in bigger games. But at the same time, I agree with you completely. I think that this is not the same City you're going to see in the final. I still think Pep did this on purpose. Like, you know, let's let them think this.
I don't think he told Aguero to hit a Panenka like that. By the way, guys, whose Panenka was worse, Lookman's or Aguero's?
I think Aguero's is obviously, because it's Aguero. He should know better.
What a letdown! Yeah. Oh man.
I just loved Mendy just going, thanks. It was like, Wonga when he's playing FIFA. I'm sure you've had those moments there, Wonga. Eh?
No, in FIFA, that goes through the keeper into the goal. That's how the game's made.
If only Arsenal could do the same.
So overall, you guys thinking in the larger terms of the overall perspective, this isn't going to play too much into Tuchel's hands as much as it's going to play into Pep going, you think you got one over us, but this is going to, whether we play in London or Portugal, because Istanbul is completely out of the picture, but whether or not we play in either of these cities, it's still coming back.
Is Istanbul out the question now?
Yeah, apparently the UK government have been having meetings with the UEFA.
Oh, really?
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
Because the numbers, the
sense as
COVID
well.
numbers in Turkey are a bit crazy, apparently. So they're saying it just doesn't make sense logistically and safety-wise.
Why are they saying Portugal now? That's a bit strange.
Because it's closer, cheaper, and because the numbers are decent there.
And because I heard Wembley.
Just keep it in the UK. I don't know that both teams are there. It makes
Villa Park.
It seems like there could be issues with getting licensing or getting the television guys, all the support structures that are part of UEFA. and operate within Europe to actually then reside in the UK. It seems like the travel restrictions to the UK are difficult from that.
They got that 2 week quarantine. So, okay.
Yeah. So it would
If
become a
only they had
nightmare if you
Cameron
consider
then
the
in England.
broadcasters.
Yeah.
If only. How did they get the English Premier League
again?
So the lads are also saying Aguero's Panenko's worse than Lookman's. That's an interesting call. All right, there. Okay. All righty. Yeah. Fair enough. Final things you want to talk about this game, Musa? I mean, it's your time to shine. Looks like Chelsea have secured full spot. Looks like they're on course for an FA Cup. Also, guys, if Tuchel,
I have to take it. Yep.
But if he does this, if he manages secures top 4, which looks like very likely, if he wins the FA Cup and the Champions League, does he win Manager of the Season?
Most definitely.
Whoa.
Whoa. Of the season.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah, but he doesn't have to be there the whole season.
He has to share it with Frank. He has to give half of it to Frank.
That's what I was going to say. When did Tuchel get the job?
Has he even been there for quarter of the season? No.
Yeah, I was going to say.
No, it's been like a quarter. It's been a quarter. He's probably had 18
like
games or 19 games with the
So surely Frank will get a medal. He'll get a Champions League medal. And
he must even share. They have to do the
no, chill, guys.
One at a time.
Chill.
No, they have
to.
One word.
You know what?
The quarter
I can't believe he's coming.
No, most of the quarter loaf from chicken licking is still satisfying, boy. It touches the spot. You'll be sorted there.
I think it'd be up there to actually compete for the Manager of the Season. I don't think there's a requirement to say he has to be there the whole season. I think the impact that he's driven at the Chelsea that he's arrived to, which was languishing very close to where Tottenham is.
Most impactful manager.
Yeah, and that's if it is voted by other managers and the other players, then it'd be a fair shout to give him a good chance, because you'd be looking at a Pep who also did struggle at the beginning of the season, but then would have only managed to win the league. And then all the other managers, I don't really think if you can give them a good chance to say the best performing manager of the season.
Like if we're going to do that, and now let me play devil's advocate here, but if you're going to say Tuchel deserves it, surely then Ole deserves it. Because, listen to me here.
Well, listen
United,
to he's agreeing
at one
with
point, United were worse off than Chelsea at one point. They were struggling. They were doing bad results. They got clubbed 6-1 by Spurs. And now look at them. Second, fourth place secured. They can roll out the reserves against Leicester. They're so secure in their spots in the league. And they've got a European final as well. I think if we're going to give it to Tuchel for coming in at the end and carrying Frank's Hawaiian shirt over the finish line, then we're going to give it to Ole for carrying his own problems over the line. There's no way Tuchel can have.
Yeah, but look at that line that he'd be carrying it over. It'd be carrying it over Europa and then just getting into Champions League. Whereas we would have won Champions League and won FA Cup, which is 2 trophies.
But
and
it's no. But he's Frank did your group stage. Frank did your group stage in Champions League. Frank did the early rounds in the FA Cup. Never.
I think Matt disagrees with you, eh?
Breaking news.
There's no way. Look, Tuchel's great, and I think he's going to take you guys far, and I think he's going to make you guys serious title contenders next season. But let's not get ahead of ourselves and give a man, like manager of the season when he's been here for a third of the season. Like now, that's just getting
for half the season.
Even a third.
In this era of chaos and craziness, can we retain some calmness, some sensibility, some tradition?
Steve Bruce gave us safety. Maybe he deserves a
Steve Bruce rescued that ragtag bunch of muffins.
Don't you dare! You're giving it to Bruce. Steve Bruce, I'm in no way. Don't you dare!
Manager of the month, I think.
I think. I can just see Matt and Wonga them going. It's about their time. We're going to give Manager of the Year award, and Thomas. And there goes Wonga and Matt. No. It's not the most impactful. It's not the most impactful. It's Manager of the Season. Marcus is asking the question here. He's saying, real question, was Frank, especially, I mean, you got to consider this. If you guys are saying it's only, he's getting the quarter loaf part of the deal here at Tuchel, was Frank Lampard really deserving of the sack, gents?
Yes.
Yeah, look, I mean,
most definitely yes.
If you look at the way they're performing, the changes Tuchel has made in the team as well. I think he brought back Alonso. No one was playing him. He's playing well. Okay, Mason, we know. I think Mason's just proved himself. I think,
I remember-
definitely. Results. I mean,
Yeah.
I think the percentage of wins are probably even higher now. They're definitely doing much better than what they did before.
Yeah.
So I think the
I think
results
for
now
me,
justify
I
it.
remember the frustration when Frank was there is because we had a lot of talent. We still have the same talent. That hasn't changed. And we never had any set type of play and any set type of structure, which is completely different now, you know. And at the time, the results weren't coming our way, and Frank wasn't saying anything to allude to the way that we're going to approach games. He was just saying, no, boys have to sharpen up. This focus must be there, and that focus must be there. But he wasn't actually changing the makeup and the direction of how the squad is going. Yes, he has done well in like creating a new, energetic, young, fresh squad which embodies the development system of the club, and that's probably what Tuchel meant. That there's a lot of groundwork which Frank did do very, very well, and Frank could be there in the background, still doing that groundwork. It's just in terms of directing the first team.
This is a
Imagine-
bummer.
Yeah,
Who
it's
knows?
a-
It's probably
it's-
got him in
it's
a
a
Imagine
bad
gym.
Frank
thing,
listening to
dude.
this.
It's a big, big if. That's a huge if. But like, yeah, man, like Frank did do the groundwork. It's just Tuchel took the players that Frank was trying to work with and molded them into this compact unit which we're playing in now. And that's the effort, and that's the reason why we wanted a Tuchel before, because we had no prospect of winning anything. We would do well. Yeah, we weren't even sure about top 4 because of the way and style of approach that he was going into games. Defense was weak. Great players there, but there was no kind of cohesiveness as a unit, which Tuchel brought into that structure from my view.
Look like
So it
sabotage
was
to me.
necessary. Yes,
Just-
Rudiger. Remember, even like senior players even lost faith in Frank, in the way that they were going about it. Like Rudiger, a couple of other guys had spat in the change rooms and actually made a petition to Mariana to actually say it's not possible. And the guys who have come on to actually do well are players like Rudiger who've been given the chance. So
But
yeah,
Alonso,
man, I
as
think
well,
it's
scores in stoppage time. That's a player that wasn't playing under Frank Lampard. So I mean, those are the sort of decisions that you got to say. Okay, no, Tuchel has done something. He's got the experience. So let's give him credit where it's due. Arjun's saying, why not consider Moyes for manager of the season? Is that a fair shot, guys? Do you think
That's
this
a good
is
call.
deserving? I mean, we
That's
do know.
hugely.
yeah.
That's
It'd be
fair.
good. It'd
That's
be-
fair.
Yeah.
I mean,
If they get
guys,
into Champions League.
Pep Guardiola. Let's look at Pep Guardiola. Yeah, this is a Man City with. He's gotten rid of 90% of all the old guard. He's pretty much built a new side here. Aguero is one of the last lying members left in the squad, and he didn't even play this season, and he's walked away with the league. I mean, the fact out of sort of, you can give him the most improved manager possibly, but manager of the season versus Pep Guardiola. Come on, guys.
But look, but I mean, if you compare everything, I mean, Pep. If you look at Pep, he's got to win the league. How much is the defense worth? I think I looked at it last time. I think his defense is close to 200 million. He spent on
Manchester
defense.
City has a higher defense
have to.
budget than the nation of Ukraine. Like,
So if you're looking at if any of the teams is spending that much,
And Chelsea still
on
get
the-
through
on the
that
squad.
defense, boy.
yeah, Ukraine better watch out.
Yeah, so if anyone is scoring, if anyone is spending that much on a team, then surely you I mean, I'm sure Man City are like, okay, you got to win the league with what we've put into the squad, and then this and that's excluding the midfielders and the strikers that you haven't mentioned, and then Moyes, no way, there's no one, not even Shem Rich himself would have said it, that they're finishing top 4 or challenging there beginning of the season. And from where Moyes was the previous seasons, I mean, he's jumped from Everton, him trying to find, I mean, going to Man United, slumbering from there. I think it's a good response from him, and that's why I would say you give it to him. I mean, well, he has a good chance. I mean, and he gets to be there. But someone who's been there for a month and wants the season award, I don't think so.
Well, you know what, Wonga, seeing as you've
It hasn't been a month.
No, but I think you also got to think about it. With this manager of the season award, you got to look at the season in a silo. You know, this is manager of the season, not based on past performance or whatever. And I think if you look at the way this season has gone, at the beginning of the season, before this all kicked off, everybody would have expected City to be there or thereabouts. A lot of people, everybody would have put City in their top 4, probably a lot of us in the top 2.
Yeah.
No one would have put Moyes and West Ham at that level. No one's thinking they're at Europe. And I think in that kind of measure, then definitely Moyes has got to be in with a good shout. Him or Stevie Bruce, who's rescued the Magpies, from themselves. I think you guys should build him a little statue. There should be Angel of the North, and then right next to that, Steve Bruce with a knowing nod, just like, yes.
eating a bacon sandwich.
I love the topic of the Steve Bruce thing. I love it because it's good time. Sorry, okay, go ahead, Nick.
421 million pounds on his backline.
Who's that?
Pep Guardiola.
Ashley's trying to sell the club for 350 million pounds.
They could have bought the whole of Newcastle and put it in
They could have bought Newcastle and made it the feeder club. And kept it in the reserves. That might still be a possibility.
But now, if you juxtapose that conversation, would you then, Pep, I think I'd put my hand up to say, yes, he could take manager this season because he's actually in the line to win something. And he's done very well, given the trouble that they faced at the beginning of the season. Ole, I'm not too sure, man. I don't have that much conviction in the work that he's done with this Manchester United team to say, put my hand up for him to being manager of the season. Whereas Moyes, I would... Yeah, fair. But Moyes, I would actually then be able to put my hand up to say, look, he is shooting the lights out.
I think all it does. I think all it does get. I mean, look, I was doubting Ole, and I was hoping that he would slump obviously because Man United. But look, the guy's done well. I mean, look how many times I get it. So yeah, people want the guy to you want to be first, but he's been in losing positions, and I think they've broken a record or something now from those losing positions. And the fact is, he's down, but the fact is they won those games. Don't come and show them they won those games from those losing positions. And they're second.
Please, as you no jokes, jokes, man.
I think this is good timing.
Arteta gets the award for bringing the most hope.
But you've been hopeless the whole season, sir.
But the hope was there. When Arteta came, he brought us hope. He brought the most hope. I can guarantee that.
Christian, is the hope still there? No. Can he turn it around?
Back to hopeless mood.
Look, you see now, I'm looking at Arteta, and you look at Frank Lampard. People are saying even when Frank Lampard left, they're like, look, Frank Lampard is definitely going to still be in the managerial career, and he's still got shots, but now it's too early for him. And I think Arsenal is the same. It's the same case. When Arteta came to Arsenal, the reason I was happy is not because he was there. Is when I saw the first couple of games. That's why I was okay. Looks good. Arsenal were different in the sense that they looked like they wanted to win a game. There's a lot of energy in them, off and on the ball. But now, and I think if you guys have
Wonga, I just want to stop you there. Sorry, man. Christopher Lawrence is in the house, and he's got a special guest here, his son Alexander. Sure. Everyone, give him a shout out. Alexander, thank you for joining us, man.
Hey, Alexander.
How you doing?
As you were, Wonga. As you were.
Yeah, and I think pretty much every Arsenal fan was the same. They saw the games. They're like, look, this team is it's definitely playing different to what they did under Unai Emery. There was that energy. But now, even when you watch them against Villarreal as well, that intensity is gone. Even now against West Brom. Now we're talking about the game against West Brom. Even what's his name? I think Ian Wright said it right. He said they asked Ian Wright, so how do you feel about this game? And Ian Wright said, like, look, it's the same. Basically, he said, I want to paraphrase what he said, but you're saying basically it's the same thing. Same energy. You don't know what Arsenal's trying to do. Willian, when I watched Willian, it looked like Willian at times, not all the time, but at times you'd get that energy from him. Like you'd run down the middle, you'd charge players, and that's what you'd see at Chelsea all the time. But at Arsenal, you see it now and then. again, we got saved by Saka. Saka first half was trying everything. It's like he was literally knocking on the door, and that's why we got the goal. You know, that's how we got the goal for our team. And again, funny enough, another youngster, Smith Rowe, puts it in the back of the net for us. But we're the big guys. I mean, that are supposed to be scoring for us.
2-1 Leicester. 2-1 Leicester. Sorry to interrupt. They just scored.
Yeah.
Claude, that top was looking tricky.
Then
This is Ollie, and you know what? He's kept them in at 1-1. He's kept them in going, oh, we're giving it a go, guys. We're giving it a go. Nah, who's he taking off the field? I'm sure he's made some changes here, and he's gone, no,
he put Rashford on. He just put Rashford on.
Rashford, Rashford, you see, he's told Rashford, go have a run out there and make it look like, now I'm putting you on. It looks like we're trying. Meanwhile, like, just warm up your legs.
Cavani is also on, by the way.
Ooh, okay, now we've got something. Let's keep an eye on that game. 2-1 there. Okay, let's keep our eyes peeled. As you keep going, sorry, Wonga, we keep interrupting you there. Yeah.
No, just once. But anyways, so what was I saying? Yeah, Pepe on the wing as well. You know, he again got for 24-year-old, was 23-year-old at the time, got him for 70 million.
Sure.
And he looking at 72 million. Don't forget that. Then he scored a good goal in the weekend. But you ask yourself, he's not going to score a goal like that against any of the other guys. Huh? How is now? Yes.
Alexander's doing the right thing by judging you so early.
I don't think the right question you, Christopher. I'm not gonna lie. I'd also be like, hey, what are you doing there? No.
Yeah, but he's doing the right thing. He's doing the right thing. You've got to your kid's got to support the same team as you. Like, you know, it's like it's got to be done.
Don't do it, Alexander.
My kids know too. Like, you don't have a choice. We're a Spurs supporting family. Like, I'm sorry. And sometimes my son asks me, like, how come other teams are winning things? And then I'm like, that's not what Tottenham do. Okay.
We don't like trophies. We're not doing this for trophies.
That's not what we're here for.
Imagine what I'm gonna tell my kids. Oh my God.
We don't play in the Premier League. We support Newcastle.
It's the thrill of getting relegated, which counts.
And Jed, also, I just want to say that Christopher's lucky his mom or his son's mom knows what she's doing. That's all I'm saying there. She's a little sorry, what were you saying? So just to come back to the Arsenal sort of question, I mean, right now, when the season ends, I know we talk about ownership and there's a whole bunch of shit happening. Excuse my language. There's a whole bunch of other things happening at Arsenal. But should Arteta, regardless of these things, should he still be manager at the end of the season?
See, next, I don't know, Claudio. I'm going to say I really don't know. I don't think he's a bad manager. I just think given time. No, look, I think
he's not bad. He's horrible.
Look, I just think he. Okay, no wait, you guys are right. No, I'm phrasing it wrong. I think he has the potential to be a good manager. At the moment, he's not a good
manager. He's got a 17% chance of evolving into a good manager one day.
So I remember we had this argument. Frank or Arteta, who would you guys take at each of your teams?
Oh,
I think
Frank.
that was a discussion. No, go back to it.
Arteta.
You recorded these. You guys all said Arteta.
I don't think I was in that conversation. I don't think I was in that conversation.
I remember where I was that day.
I'm pretty sure I would have said, just let
you know what, Nick, you're the only one who can validate this. So I don't know. He's gonna have to find this.
I'm gonna find it. I don't know what it was. Was it to lead a national team, or was it to? I don't know if it was to coach another team in the Premier League. Who would you choose? And everyone went with Arteta. All of you. And I said,
blinded fools is what we were then, if that's the case.
But the thing is also it's fair. Good. Like, I suppose in that sense, Frank was working with Chelsea's players, who are Chelsea players. Arteta is working with the Arsenal squad. So I don't think he's a great manager. I think he's made some weird calls. I think he's made some bad choices. But he has also got a squad that's not pulling their weight. You've got Aubameyang, who's not taking it seriously the whole season, in and out, arriving late. And that kind of impact. Yeah, thanks a lot, Arjun. Come on, man. I can guarantee we'll win that now.
You won't get invited to that.
But I think Arteta's been let down by the squad big time as well. I think Arsenal has. I think their lack of investment and their lack of kind of planning from a footballing perspective is coming home to roost. And not all of that is on Arteta.
Yes.
That's been going on for years. That's something that
100%.
he inherited. There's no kind of pipeline of talent. They do these weird buys. I mean, did you see that tweet on the weekend? Pep scored that goal and he ran up to the camera and went like berserk. And then someone tweeted like, Pep's just done that. They've just scored against an already relegated West Brom. Like the state of the man, you know? Like, it's just, I think it shows the quality they've got in the squad is nothing like what Frank had at his disposal at Chelsea. So it's a hard comparison to make. That said, offer me both of them. I don't want any. My players can go out without a manager. They'll figure it out. Like,
I'd rather not have him.
But yeah, I think, Cloud, just to answer your question, I think that, what Matt was saying, there's a lot of issues within Arsenal. I think they need to change a lot. I think changing Arteta doesn't, maybe it'll solve a few of our problems, but it's not going to solve everything. I mean, they were saying, I think everyone heard it when I'm not forgetting this. Wilfried Zaha came out and said that Unai Emery spoke to him, and said if he wanted to join Arsenal. Wilfried Zaha said yes. You know, there was no hesitation. And next thing you know, a couple of weeks down the line, they put 72 million in for someone who's for Pepe, someone who's not been in the country, who's not been there before, hasn't proven himself, still has to prove himself in the country, and only after one good season. So you ask yourself, who's making a decision? Who makes these decisions when you know you've got like when that sort of option is at your disposal? I don't think many people would have chosen. I don't think there would have been Arsenal fan that would have chosen Pepe if they heard about a potential of Wilfried Zaha coming onto the team, you know. But that's just one player. We still got Holding, we must sort out. We still got Bellerin, he's undecided whether he wants to play soccer or model. And also buying great players.
At Arsenal, there isn't like a clear...
Wenger
Glory days.
Wenger in.
my struggle with Arsenal is a lack of clear leadership that you can see between like the manager and the players. Is even if you look 100%. At like leaders on the field right now, it's the likes of Smith Rowe, Martinelli that are actually looking like they're ready to galvanize the rest of the team, and that's a big responsibility for them. They should be guys like Xhaka, David Luiz, and them coming to the party, but they're not there, bro. They lose. And
do you see Arsenal sub? How many times they sub Aubameyang? He's our captain. How many times they sub him? And how many captains we have in the team? It's Bellerin, it's Aubameyang. No, then it's David Luiz.
Saka.
No, it's Holding today. 5 people.
But even that lineup, Wonga, even that lineup on the weekend, it completely changed from what he did. I understand it's like from Thursday to Sunday, and now you're playing West Brom. Sure, they land up relegating Sam Allardyce, but sure, I mean, West Brom is pretty shitty. But even though, like, you're looking at this Arteta, I know it's a good point that Nick mentions Frank Lampard versus the Arteta sort of conversation. Firstly, I just want to point out, we all went with Arteta because his hair is so damn perfect, and no one can argue with that, and that's part of the image. But, you know, realistically, you're looking at this, like, you know, he's gone towards the end of the season, and I understand the guy's still finding his feet and finding his best players, but the way he's chopping and changing, like you said, he doesn't know who his captain is. He's taking guys off after the 60th minute, and they're meant to be captains. Captains aren't meant to come off after 60 minutes. They're meant to be on leading the team.
That's the thing. I think we and that's also another issue. I'm not saying it's a big problem, but it's another issue that Arsenal, like Musa said, we do not have a leader, and I think we haven't had a leader in a very, very, very long time. And I think it's causing if you don't have a leader in your team, I think everyone knows how that ends up. I think in Liverpool we can see where that is. Tottenham, who's at Tottenham?
The likes of Kane are leading from the front.
No, I'm joking. I'm joking. But no, Arsenal, it's shambolic. We honestly don't have a captain. Everyone has a captain. Like that is for me. He needs to make a decision. I don't know if he's scared to tell the people that no, this guy's the captain and you're not the captain. He's the leader. I don't know what it is, but for me, just make a decision. Choose a captain.
Isn't it also to do with the fact that Aubameyang was declared club captain, but then during the course of this season he has not, especially more off the field than on it, but he's been behaving in a very uncaptainly way. Like issues like arriving late and stuff. You can't have your captain doing that kind of stuff. So then it creates this vacuum of leadership, which forces Arteta's hand to kind of say, I'm looking for someone who's going to be my right-hand man, who's going to be my kind of my voice on the field. And in the clubs where that's working well, you look at Klopp and Henderson at Liverpool, there's a clear symbiosis and a clear kind of connection and understanding of what they want to achieve, and it works. And Arteta doesn't have that on the field because Aubameyang's not stepping up. So then he does look to other people. And also Arsenal's issue is that a lot of their players who are performing best are younger players who don't have the maturity and the experience to be those leaders, and they shouldn't have to. But Arsenal has a habit of doing that, of like when you guys made Fabregas captain when he was basically 12. And you know, it's something that kind of, I think it speaks to the fact that there's been this ongoing issue at Arsenal where they're not putting in a pipeline of players and leaders, and kind of there's not a footballing strategy that stretches over 8 to 10 years. There's a very kind of put out the fire. Let's buy Pep because people will like that we're spending money. Throw him into the team. Does it fit? Doesn't he fit? It doesn't matter. Someone will figure it out later. Make it Arteta's problem. And now that's all coming home to roost. You've got to, and realistically, like when you look at the teams above Arsenal, how many players in the Arsenal squad would start for the top 6, 7, 8 teams in the league at the moment? And that's never been true before. I mean, you look at it's not that long ago that Arsenal's entire starting 11 would start in any team in Europe. And like that's just not the case anymore. And I think that speaks to long-term strategy gone massively wrong.
And you know what's interesting about that comment, Matt? You absolutely love it. You love it.
I do indeed.
The man's enjoying
it. There's not a single tear in my eye as I say it.
But like I think next season, I think I mean, geez, it doesn't hurt my pocket. So I think it's fine if they and we don't, maybe it's just my entertainment wise, but I think us just being in the Premier League is just a blessing in disguise. It's gonna hurt their pocket, they won't be able to get people, but I mean not the Premier League, sorry, us not being in the Champions League or Europa.
Of course.
I think that
you guys would
that
get
helps
punished
us
7-0 every week.
I think then worrying about the match and then getting punished, I think is just too much worry for Arteta if he's still there. I think it's better it can't just be we in the Premier. We out of Europe and we just focus on Premier League things. Other things need to change while we are focusing on just being in the Premier League and doing our domestic cups. Things need to change, and that captain I think could be one of them. The first thing before changing, before we change the manager.
Here's the thing is though, things do need to change. And we've got Aljun asking for top 6 for next season. But Liverpool's still trying to make the top 4 for this season. So I'm not even going to answer that question. But the other thing I want to talk about is, Arsenal are in a very precarious situation. Where do they go from here? Christopher asking as an ex-manager, if they sack Arteta, what do they do? Where do they go? I mean, players now, we're talking about players leaving the club because, Aljun also making valid point, 29. Why would you stick around at Arsenal if you're trying to win as much as you can before the end of the career, or possibly get more money? I mean, the only thing going for Arsenal is that it's history right now. The amount of wages technically you get paid to go there. But apart from that, it's definitely not the biggest club in London anymore. That's the issue that they're having. And, this is a very slippery slope. We've been saying it's going to be a sort of interesting transition period that they've been going on through years. And again, the fans, now they're overcompensating because they were harsh on Wenger. They were harsh on Emery, and now they're giving leeway. They're giving so much flipping leash to Arteta. Now they're overcompensating. But sorry, we just need to move on, Wonga. We need to move on from the Arsenal sort of topic before we get wrapped up in this. We need to talk about the sort of West Ham Everton game, largely because Everton is still in with the European shout. West Ham obviously pushing for top 4, but they dropped it at home. Gentlemen, what do we think about this?
Good goal by good goal by Calvert-Lewin. I think everyone was. I think it's an uncharacteristic goal by him. I think he's the one people knock on the head. But yes, he's got a bit of pace on him. Did a perfect run. Saw the space. The pass was also as equally good, and the finish I think was great. It definitely dented. Definitely dented West Ham there. I would have, liked to see. I mean, obviously now because Arsenal have no chance. I'm looking at other things. West Ham story would have been nice.
The thing with the West Ham
making Europe.
Yeah, the thing with the West Ham situation was they sort of peaked probably 2 or 3 weeks too early, and now their bubbles sort of quite ironic though, but their bubbles sort of burst.
Yeah.
But I do think, listen, they've had a fantastic season. I wouldn't write them off completely, but it's just you lose to an Everton team that's been pretty up and down this season at home. You know, this is the crunch time. You know, if you're gonna solidify your place, you need to be winning your home games at least, and trying to get something away from home. So I think they just peaked a little bit too early, and to hold that run right up until the end of the season was always going to be a tough ask. But listen, if they get any European football, from fighting to stay in the league last season to get in any European football, is a great achievement. But it would be cool if they do sort of find themselves in the Champions League spot. But I think Claudio doesn't share those same
No, it's
Not a chance. The beautiful story and all, but not a chance.
no words. No, let the story live somewhere else, not in mine. But Liverpool must not be included in someone else's fairy tale unless Liverpool is the fairy tale. Then it's a different story. Yes, man.
Yeah, no, I think this was a good result for Everton. I think they have had an up and down season, but I think Ancelotti's also laid a lot of groundwork here. I think he's building a side. I think next season, obviously, to Arjun's question, I think we it's impossible to know what the top six is going to be like next season because there's so many unanswered questions. Obviously, Spurs are going to get a new manager. There's potential changes up and down sides there. I think we don't know what Arsenal's going to decide to do, so it's very hard to say. But that said, I think with all of the uncertainty, I think Everton are building a platform to be serious contenders. I think they're showing their ability to turn over good results. They are building a system that really works. And I think this kind of showed that. This kind of showed that there's a limitation to what West Ham are able to do, and kind of reinforce the fact that Everton are still a force to be reckoned with. I do think it would be kind of sad for the fairy tale to end. I think you look at the chaos of the last couple of years, and we all deserve something like kind of shiny to look at. And West Ham in the Champions League would be something new and different. And I think that would be kind of cool. I think it would be cool to see them there. But that said, I think this result showed that over the course of an entire season, sides like Everton are going to start to perform really well, and sides like West Ham are going to struggle.
It's a really good family club, that.
Yeah, that Everton, that's a real. But also, just to Wonga's points about Calvert-Lewin, I read this cool thing about them, and it reminded me. You guys remember when Kane had his first season? He was banging in the goals, and everyone was like, "Oh, it won't last," whatever. Then the next season started.
Yeah.
Remember, he went through that phase where he never scored in August, and everyone was like, "Oh, one season wonder. Kane's not going to do it again." And someone was like, we're doing the same thing to Calvert-Lewin, where every time he has another good game, we're like, look at this guy still scoring goals. What good for him. But maybe he's actually just a really good striker, and he's going to keep banging them in. And that's what he does now. And we're all just constantly surprised by it. But then 6 years down the line, he's going to have had this career where he's just been banging in goals. I think, and it's possible we are doing the same thing, because I think you see him and you see his technique and his movement. It's not that he gets lucky. He knows what he's doing.
No.
He's a solid striker.
Yeah.
But I do want to say though, I do like when I was looking at that game and I was watching it and I was going, okay, cool. One thing we know about Ancelotti, he knows how to set up his side. So when I'm looking at how he sets up, Allen is probably one of the signings of the season, in my opinion, in terms of what he's done he's transformed that midfield. I know Decore had his moment as well, but Allen, in terms of discipline, he knows exactly how to carry out Ancelotti's sort of methods and whatever it is that he's after. But when we're looking at Calvert-Lewin, in my opinion, when I'm seeing him play next to Richarlison, there's a problem there, because when they're both going forward, they're sitting deeper, they're waiting for the counterattack. But when they're both going forward, they're both trying to do it by themselves. Richarlison got taken off. He wasn't too happy about getting subbed off. But Calvert-Lewin needs to find someone who's going to feed him the ball, because he doesn't know how to feed anyone else the ball. Because when he does, he hangs on too long. And I was just like, shit. So for Everton moving forward, what would you guys do? Or what if you, Ancelotti, where do you go in terms of improving the side next? To take into the next level.
They need that creative. You look at, I'll use Kane as the example again. Kane with Son is much more deadly than Kane on his own. I think Calvert-Lewin needs his own Son. He needs that someone, and I think Richarlison is potentially the right player, and maybe they just need more time, and they need to.
They're both too greedy, man.
Maybe that's it. But you see the way they do play together. They the only thing that's lacking is kind of the final pass, the final bit of creativity to kind of link up with one another. Maybe that will come. Maybe it won't, but I think what he needs is a creative, someone who sits behind him and does the creative work and kind of unleashes him. And then I think they could have a really unstoppable kind of situation.
Player like Smith Rowe is going to want to go to a big team next season, so maybe
like Everton.
Yeah.
Look, you're joking. I know you guys are laughing. But I mean,
It'd be a much better club.
If Ancelotti's picking up the phone saying, "Listen, son, come play for me," or actually, I got that completely wrong. It's like, "Hello, Borgiorno, you want to come play for me in Everton?" You know, so maybe something along those lines. And he said, "I'm going to triple your wages."
You were better the first time, Claudio.
I mean, no, it's not going to think twice. Why would he stick around?
Yeah, especially if you think about the other players that would be around him. You know, they actually have very talented.
But you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. It's not worth ruling out, especially if like Arsenal don't have a 2-year plan or a 3-year plan. Smith Rowe only has his youth for so long. He has to consider going to teams.
Wonga is absolutely fuming. He hasn't even said a word.
Your best player's gone, Chief.
Look, I think Gazo, they're going like not getting relegated, Oaks. We're not getting relegated.
No,
just going to be in the Premier League next season. That's it. Like,
the problem is, but you're in a situation of your own doing the Wonga, because just last season, Arteta said we'll win the Champions League in 3 years. And you're not even in Europe next season. So what he's put all his eggs in one basket to say that come next season you're going to finish top 4 and the following season you're going to win it. And do you think any of the players in his squad are looking at him thinking, yeah, he's got this. We're getting there.
Champions League is on the way.
Yeah.
All right, guys, talking about Champions League, we're just going to, obviously, I need to touch on this fact, the Liverpool-Southampton game. It needs to be spoken about, not too much, because, I mean, there was not much to talk about, except for the fact that Thiago finally scored for Liverpool. It's only taken him the whole season, but can I get a shout-out for that, guys? Come on. Go on, my son.
Hey, go Thiago. That's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
You're happy?
I mean,
got the shout-out.
As happy as I can be, I guess. Like, you're looking at it, you're like, they're sitting 57 points, and you're like, oh, they got games in hand. But we know the Premier League, you never, ever, ever count the games in hand. It's one of those things, you know, it builds up more hope than being Arteta at Arsenal, you know, it's one of those sort of scenarios. But Joe, the only good thing literally was Thiago's goal, and his goal was scored in the same way in which he hits one of those blind passes, you know, he's looking this way and then he hits it that way and then he hit the bottom corner. That was the only good thing about the game. We got our 3 points and now we pretty much wait for United to throw their games until they play us. So that's
what do you guys know about Southampton? This team, it feels like we were looking at it at the beginning of the season, saying they've got a great manager, a lot of good bunch of players. They could compete for, you know, a solid position, maybe in top 8, top 6. But wow, things have fallen off the bandwagon quite significantly at Southampton. And I don't know if it's getting enough spotlight. Do we think that manager is going to have to leave his position at the end of this season?
Listen, you know, we still threw his name in the ring for the Chelsea replacement before the job was announced, because he was on that run.
And it's fallen off the bandwagon quite significantly. It's scary how it's just gone.
They were only safe. Safe last night with Burnley's win. They were right in it up until last night.
Yeah, man. Guys, I do want to say, like, you know, when we were looking at Leicester's sort of run-in, we were thinking, wow, you know, they play Man United, they play Chelsea, and then I think the last one's Man City, isn't it? I think it is.
Yeah.
But now you're going, well, you're looking at it, you're going, well, Man United played the C team. Chelsea are going to be focusing on the FA Cup because they pretty much have 4 and the Champions League. So they're going to play out their D team. And then you're going, Man City are already going to have everything wrapped up. So why would they give a shit?
Yeah, but City's B team and C team are arguably better than Leicester's A team.
That's actually fair.
They can still play £200 million worth of defense against them. So.
But I'd be careful to say that Chelsea was going to play the D team, because I don't think we're still in the thick of things for this top 4 fight, and I take this weekend's performance against Man City with a pinch of salt. We have to fight for top 4, whereas they kind of set and can look at different options.
But if you look at Liverpool's like sort of chances now, I think if Leicester did have to drop, it's not looking likely. But you still have a fighting chance. You back in it. I think Newcastle did you a good one, beating them, because it sort of brings everyone back into it. West Ham obviously dropping points as well. So I wouldn't write you guys off. And Klopp's going to just have to get them going again because, I mean, the carrot's there for them at the end, like it's dangling there in front of them. The players just need to fight for it. Whether or not they're good enough to. I think they are good enough to, but they're going to have to just sort of really put a massive effort into the next couple of games.
Well, look, Arjun's saying things I want to hear. He's saying Bruno Fernandes is still attempting volleys, but 50-yard volley, I don't think that's realistic. I think he's trying to show people he's trying, but he knows he's not going to score. It's one of those. I don't know. I don't know.
Man United have 70% possession here at the moment. They're all over Leicester, and there's 2 minutes left.
What?
And Tanzania doing an Apple Watch. Gotta get the stats. Gotta get the stats.
He's counting his steps, guys. He's earning those coffees.
All right, guys.
Before
we wrap up the show, we're going to talk about one thing, and that is who your candidates are for Player of the Season. Let's hear them.
Ooh.
How many do we need?
I'd have to go for KDB. There are a lot of good players that have done very well at Man City. Gundogan was very good when Kevin De Bruyne was injured, but he came back and galvanized that team to actually progress to where they are right now in the Premier League. So I'd have to go for Kevin De Bruyne on my side.
Kevin De Bruyne?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a good call. I mean, it's got to be a Man City player. I think they've shown over the course of the season the consistency and the ability to kind of turn around a sticky situation. I think that that Diaz guy they've got in defence, I think he's made a big difference for them as well. I think he's been a solid performer. Doesn't get the same kind of plaudits because defenders never do because they don't create goals or score goals. But you look at when if you look at where their form turned around, it coincides with him also having a massive influence on the game. And like making a difference in terms of the defense there. And I think so Diaz, I think for me would be a serious contender for Player of the Season just for the impact he's had on the side.
I think without a doubt I would go for Harry Kane.
What?
Harry
This is
Kane.
Get on board with that too.
Arsenal. This
Harry
is
Kane.
Arsenal fans.
He's done well, though. He's done very well.
Harry
Number
Kane.
9 and 10.
Harry
I mean, he's topping both the goal scoring and
goals
the
and
assist
assists.
chart.
You put Harry Kane in any of those teams in the top 4, they are fighting. Okay, still for Man City now, but okay, Man City then win the league 2 weeks. Okay, last month. That's when they win the league. But the other guys are definitely they're gonna be winning the league. Any of the top 4 teams, you put Harry Kane in there with those goals and those assists, they're winning.
Yeah,
and I think that's what happens if any of those teams get him. If any of those teams were to get him next season, I think that's definitely going to happen. They're going to probably end up winning the league because you're going to get. I don't think he's going to drop form next season.
And also bear in mind, he's done those goals and assists playing largely under Mourinho, that stodgy, turgid, like negative football.
Yes.
And if he'd been in a side where they were playing on the front foot, if he'd been in a United, for example, or a Chelsea, it would have been insane. So. Yeah. Good. Maybe I'm just too used to it. I get to watch him all the time.
He gets it over for Firmino, Claudio. For me.
I think many players get it over for me. I think Pereira from West Brom gets it over for me this season. So Nick, what's your shout there?
Well, just an update. Man United have lost. The game.
Typical Ole. He did that on purpose.
So we go.
I'm telling you.
I love Liverpool now. The conspiracies are already going to start from the Liverpool fans. Oh yeah, they invaded the stadium to cause this thing, and then they threw the game, and then.
All I'm saying is, where was the protest today? That's all I'm saying. Why didn't they protest today? Huh?
They love the idea of Liverpool not being in top 4 more.
But I think it has to go to the one and only Alain Saint-Maximin. The manager.
But then Bruce was the manager of the season.
Bruce also gets manager of the season.
Obvious. I think for me, I was before Wonga said it. I think just purely based on stats, I would give it to Kane. But in terms of a player sort of doing it for his team, getting them into a position where they are right now, Champions League final, about to win the league, I think Kevin De Bruyne is second to none. So I have two. If you can look at it, pure ability and contribution for sort of how he delivers match in, match out. Kevin De Bruyne, but in terms of stats, it has to be Kane. So yeah, I'm torn between the two.
Makes sense.
Interesting. All right. Christopher's asking thoughts on Mahrez, gents.
In a way,
like Mahrez for player of the season, or just like general thoughts? Because I don't think he should be in this conversation for like the same category.
Not player of the season for me, but he has done well.
He is a very key player for them now.
Yes.
And he's a solid player. He's got. I think the problem with a player like Mahrez is that City have got so much talent that they can afford to leave him out quite often.
Yeah.
So then you get the sense that maybe he's not as good as he is because he doesn't necessarily play every game, because Pep can choose his system and he can be like, today I want Mahrez, whatever. But if he was in any other side in the top six, he'd play every week and he'd be crucial. Like you drop him in,
very, very crucial.
You drop him into like a side like for United, he plays every week. He sits there and he's going to be pulling the strings, creating chances. Same at Spurs, easily he'd be there. Can you imagine him sitting behind Kane and Son, just like controlling it, creating chances, opening doors? He'd be huge. So I think he's kind of a victim of being in that massive squad. But also at the same time, because he is there, you still see other players at City who are stepping up, like KDB, for example. And he's in the same kind of setup, but he still manages to be there every week and doing all the things. So it is a tough one to call. So, but he is a solid player. I think that's
All right. Okay, guys. For my shout for player of the season has got to be Ruben Dias. I agree with a couple of you who have said that already, largely because the guy's come in, he's young. It was 60 million plus, a lot of pressure put on the guy replacing, remember, a Vincent Kompany. So we know that they've tightened up the back. He's a leader, and I think he's only 22, 23, and he's already shown what he's capable of. So, yeah, I think that was a big player for City.
He's Portuguese.
Well, my favorite thing about that is, the Portuguese thing. My favorite thing is that you can't say a Portuguese player's name without a Portuguese accent. It doesn't matter.
Dias.
Not Dias.
I just want to say, guys, the whole bias, the whole bias sort of thing.
Say it again.
Dish. So my dad, when he places some bets on the games and things, and he thinks the game's been corrupted, and he says that it was a bias sort of thing. He doesn't say biased. He says it was a buyer. He's like, this is such a biased thing. There's the buyers. He's like, the buyers got involved here.
Oh man.
And I think that wraps
so the
it
result
up,
makes it officially take the league.
Yeah, man.
Shout out to City, man. They've done very, very, very well. They're the champions, I think we have to give credit to where it's due for their performances this season. We're all looking at them and ruling them out, thinking, Liverpool have a great chance, Tottenham have a great chance. But he's come and pulled that team together and fixed it very, very, very well. We saw Manchester United go on the run, and they pulled it right back.
Are they having a party like Leicester there at Vardy's house? Whose house are they having it at? Phil Foden.
Phil Foden is probably out right now.
on that note, guys, we're going to wrap up the show. Final thoughts from everyone.
I'm happy I'm safe, guys. I'm happy I'm safe. Now I can relax.
Congrats, Nick. I think... Yeah, go for it, Matt.
I mean, also, great to keep you on board, Nick. That's going to be fantastic fun. And all credit to Steve Bruce for doing such a fantastic job, pulling it off when everyone was out in the squad. Good for him. And I'm looking forward to Thursday's show. I think having a look at how young players can come through football in a more kind of open, take advantage of technology. I think that's going to be an awesome show. I'm really looking forward to it. I think it's going to be really cool.
Yeah, cool.
Super excited about having that show on Thursday, especially with the influence that it's had to players like Haaland and all of them coming up the ranks, seeing that democratization of football coming to the party, especially after the ESL, is very, very exciting. But Wanga, you mustn't sleep again tonight. We're coming for you tomorrow, sir. That's all you must worry about. That's my last comment.
Mongo, we're waiting for you. We're waiting for you.
I don't have any comments. I was gonna comment on like you saying player of the season. I think for me, a Mason Mount would be, let's say, in a top 10.
Young player, maybe.
Yeah, but the only reason I say it is because of the doubt that was on him when he started, and literally he's pulled himself. I mean, he's in Champions League final. Goodness me. And you can say he's probably the guy that helped him get to the Champions League final. I didn't see Tino Werner was just watching. But yeah.
In 2 seasons' time, according to Arteta, Smith Rowe will be in a Champions League final. So don't worry, man.
Yeah, but if we play into the City.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was very cryptic of Pep Guardiola. Yeah, right. Giving all these Arsenal fans more false hope. Meanwhile, slip the rug right from under them. Yeah. Gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us today. A reminder again to everyone, on Thursday, the show will be at 3 p.m. South African time. I don't know the other times, guys. It's Central African time.
Central African
Yeah, Central African time, 3 p.m. We will be having Tonsa CEO Peter Holm on there. Like Moses already said, the democratization of football. And I know that seems like quite a grand statement, but when you see how they've disrupted or how they've begun. Anyway, if you've seen what they've done in terms of disrupting this sort of agent model and finding players, it's going to be something worth looking into. So thank you very much for joining us. Everyone who tuned in, from Christopher, Pumalani, Arjun, Aman,
Aryan,
and I need to start writing a list down, so don't forget.
And shout out to Alexander. Nice
Alexander, yes.
Remember.
But also, if you don't know, he's gone. But yeah, if you don't know, how does he close the show off?
If you don't know what to be,
if you don't know what to be
cool.
Be cool. Guys. Be cool.
This